You want to record? All right, great. Welcome to Not Just This with Don Garland and me, where we talk about non-duality and integration. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can type your questions in the chat. And if you're in the Zoom, you can unmute yourself, turn on your camera, and ask your questions live right here in the Zoom room. Other than that, it's being broadcast live on YouTube. So by asking a question, you're giving consent. Just keep microphones muted until, let's see, who am I muting? Oh, there we go. Everyone's muted. Good. Okay. So I guess that's about it. So again, if you're watching live on YouTube, type your questions in the chat. If you're in the Zoom, just go ahead, unmute yourself, turn on your camera and join us that way. And with that, I will pass it to Don Garland for an intro to non-duality.
So yeah, non-duality is the saying that there is no self in the way we understand it, that there's no boundary between what I took to be myself and everything else. So there's just this boundless love is the best way of putting it, which is very often experienced as coming home. So there's all the energy that was seeking energy, looking for fulfillment, looking for meaning, purpose. All of that is kind of realized in this seeing. And in another sense, of course, nothing has happened because this is a seeing. This is the timeless, spaceless. This is within which time and space arise, because the human being continues to live in time and space. So in a sense, you could say nothing happens, but the simplest way of putting it really is that anyone can really understand is the peace that passes understanding. So there's peace where you are, there's peace, there's an acceptance of everything as it is. There's no struggle with existence, there's no kind of argument with what is. And even if there is an argument with what is, that is part of this radical acceptance that comes with this. And part of the seeing is that this was always the case. So there doesn't have to be a big bang moment for many individuals. This is experienced as you can sort of slide into this quite slowly, not knowing exactly when the shift, which is a non-shift, but to speak about it, we have to use linear terms. So when that occurred, and there's generally a before and after story in the story of time. The mind will be quieter, and very often there's a lot of dropping away of a lot of neuroses, but not necessarily. So it's the end of a search for the true self or anything like that. It's the fulfillment in the moment, which doesn't mean to say on a relative level it's inaccurate. In the bigger picture, it's inaccurate to talk about levels, but in a way of describing this, it's much easier to convey it by talking about the absolute and the relative, in the sense that there can be a relative search for meaning, a relative search for fulfillment, like maybe looking for a more fulfilling relationship, job, etc., because in a way, after this awakening, there seems to be almost like an opportunity to start again, to reassess, to to change your life. Maybe you'll move in a different direction. There's more flow to life. And so the identity has fallen away, the identification with mind, with body, the sense of a body, at all, that the sense of the physical just drops away. So it's a description I like is to call like spirit, because it feels like, there's nothing here. There really literally is nothing here, nothing anywhere, and yet all this appears, but it's incredibly visceral, this, and it's beyond the mind. So to speak about it, it's misleading and impossible for people, I think, not to reify, in a sense, because of that. Yeah, so suffering can arise, but it arises for no one, in the sense that your identity is not with that, so it tends not to last as long. I don't know what else to say about it. But yeah, so unconditional love, it includes everything. So there's an intimacy with all of life, which is really the most beautiful thing about this, is that. So a lot of self-consciousness can drop away. Then even if it appears, that's there's an intimacy with that. Even there's an intimacy with struggle, with suffering, with all of it, really. And it transforms what you see as well. It can transform that in a greater or lesser degree. So everything seems more alive. Sometimes you can see the aliveness of everything, and the stillness and the sacred, which is very, very beautiful. And so it's possible, which for a lot of people it's really impossible to sit in one place for a long time, but with this can make it possible not to make it very difficult not to sit around for a very long time, because you're seeing things for the first time. There's this freshness to all of existence, which takes you by surprise, but in a way it doesn't, because it's so natural. It's so it blows away the past in such a way that there's no comparison to be made. It's just, this is what is, and this is what has always been, and what will ever be. So so you could speak about it in terms of surprise, but it's not. It's yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's, yeah. So I think that's maybe about all I want to say right now.
Thank you, Don. So non-duality. Was listening to a talk recently on non-duality, and the speaker was a very uncompromising speaker, but they talked about all these things that you could do that could reinforce the sense of being a separate, independent entity, such as doing psychedelics and all these different things that they were asking the speaker about. And I just thought, just to make a distinction, like, I don't see that there is an understanding that anyone needs to have, or that the sense of being a separate individual is not it. That not having the sense of being a separate individual is more it than not having the sense of being an individual. There's no enlightenment. There is no getting closer or further away to this. And what is this? This life, this beingness, this isness, this vibrant aliveness that seems to be all apparent things. My point is that it's already the case. My point is that there is no separate individual that needs to understand this. It's already this whole complete, perfect, no thing, being everything, expressing as everything. Everything is the expression of this one no thing, of this beautiful, perfect wholeness. So there's no fragments from the wholeness that are trying to get back to the wholeness. There's nothing that lost its way that needs to get back home. You know, we're not walking each other home, as they say. There's nowhere to walk to. We never left home. It's always been so. It's this beautiful paradox, piece that passes all understanding, to see that life can appear as dysfunction, but there's some perfection underlining all that. There's a beauty underneath all that. The beauty that no one caused any of that no one's responsible for any of that. And that whatever is happening is just this one whole beautiful expression happening as this. And it's always been that way. So whether it's the seeking, the apparent finding, the apparent understanding, or the apparent misunderstanding, one is not better than the others. If you have an illusionist come in your living room and do all kinds of illusions, you know, make you think you're seeing all kinds of things that aren't there. One illusion is not more real than the other. You might be more impressed by one over the other, but none of them are really there. So it's the same with this, you know, the illusion of separation, the illusion of being in a prison and suffering is no more real than anything else. It's just what seems to be happening. It's just the appearance of this no thing appearing as a struggle. And life just takes care of itself. Life is living itself. That was a beautiful thing to see, is going from I need to figure out how to run my life and apply certain principles and practices and methods to have this amazing life and to reach these higher states and to become more and more of whatever. But the goal is always this. I think Tony has a quote, there's no treasure to be found in life. Life is the treasure. You know, so there's no searching or seeking involved with at least the message I'm sharing, because it's always already. This is the mystery. This is the beauty. This is what's being looked for. And there's no one apart from it. There's no one separate from it. There's no one that doesn't already have full access to this, because there isn't any separate individual. So it's always full on. It's always full on, and there's nothing to attain. And I know many of you have heard that over and over and over again, but there are these subtle little things that creep in, I think, to this message that, oh, you shouldn't do that because it's going to reinforce the sense of being separate. I don't see it that way. You know, you want to go for the psychedelics, the therapy, the practices, go for all of it, because it's already always whole, complete, and perfect. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're meditating or not meditating, or you're working on yourself or you're not, or you're in delusion, or you're, think you're not being deluded. Sorry, I gotta mute somebody. Simon. Anyway, I think that's about it. If anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free. Jump right in.
Yeah, I just got here. So,
Welcome, Jacob.
oh, my camera's off. Okay. Yeah, I just got here. So, yeah, did I miss anything?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
What's going on? You got a question, Jacob?
Is this
Well,
the non-duality class?
It's a non-duality and integration meeting.
Mhm. So,
And
yeah, my question is, we know that the thinker, we know that thought invented the thinker, but it didn't invent the brain body. So the brain body and nature, the tree, the birds, are not created, are not created by thought. So they are true. But the me, the I, the self, the mind, is an illusion. It's an invention of thought. Some non-dual people say that everything is an illusion, that the tree is an illusion, the brain body is an illusion, the world is an illusion, the bombing, the killing, the raping is an illusion. I haven't found that to be true. I have found that that is happening, but what the mind says about it is an illusion. So only when the brain body is free of the mind, then one is at one with what is happening, which is the truth. So I guess I want your comment about what you have found.
Don, you got any thoughts on that?
I said about that. I say, yeah, just I say your thoughts about that could be pretty accurate, like rape, blah blah blah. I don't know, like, yeah, none of that. I mean, this is real and not real, and I'm not denying that bad shit happens, and that what I think about it can be accurate, that it actually applies to something, So I'm not denying reality in that sense. To do so, I think, could be really, really seriously dangerous. I mean, on a relative level, I mean, life goes on as normal, and bad shit happens, and you'll have feelings about that, and you'll have thoughts about that. I mean, you're not denying that. I'm just saying that that what you are isn't what you think you are. There is just oneness. So meanwhile, you have to navigate life, and things have to think right. You might have distorted way of looking at things, but thoughts aren't, this, whether the thoughts create the world, whether this is mind created, whatever, that we have to negotiate it, and it is real. I mean, in the sense that we understand reality, like, this chair is real in one sense, and you can't deny that. Like, otherwise, I don't know, there'd be a lot of standing around. I don't know, but so
You feel responsible for the
yeah, I
whole
do.
world?
I feel what, for the whole world? Did you say the whole
Yeah,
world?
for the whole world. Yes.
No, I can never think that abstractly.
No, not abstractly. Do you feel responsible in your blood, in your bones,
I've no
in
idea.
your heart, in your soul, in your entire being? Do you feel?
Responsibility can arise for sure in certain situations.
No, now.
Right
Do you
now,
feel in each and every moment, 24/7, do you feel responsible? So in other words, do you feel connected to all beings, in communication with all beings, in communion with all beings? Not
Not
just
in that way. I
temporarily,
don't feel
not just
responsible.
every now and then, but 24/7, when you go to
No,
work, when you go to school,
that
when you're
sounds very
raising your
comforting.
family, whatever you're doing, you are the very expression of that love, affection, care,
Well, now you're,
goodness that transcends what the mind imagines it to be. Is that how you're living your life? That's the question.
whoa, that's quite a question. No, I don't feel responsible 24/7, thank God. I don't think I could cope with that. I don't think anyone could cope with that. That's a lot of responsibility. No, you know, yeah, I mean, the sense of responsibility can arise in a situation. It's arising right now, as it happens, to a certain extent. But no, but yeah, I
Because
mean,
most people don't feel responsible. So I'm wondering, when you awaken, when your brain body is set free of the illusion maker, which is the mind, what changes? In other words, before you were cold-hearted,
I wasn't,
self-centered.
excuse me.
What happens afterward? Meaning, when the self comes to an end, doesn't that mean connection with all beings?
It's not the self coming to the end in the way you're saying it. It's just not owned by anything. So there is just oneness. I mean, Dawn is
I'm
still
using the word self to refer to the mind,
the
the
mind and the
consciousness.
emotions are
These are just different words for the same bundle of active memory. It's the past conditioning of the brain. So the
you
I,
might
the me.
reduce it to
Oh,
that. It's
okay.
not, it's not all that. I mean, there can be past conditioning, of course, but I mean, really,
So then, if there's past conditioning, there's no freedom. You're a slave to your programming.
there's always some kind of programming, perhaps. The thoughts and the feelings can change. I don't really want to talk in terms, I wouldn't want to speak in terms of that. I mean, conditioning can change. You can have insights and change psychologically. This doesn't necessarily turn you into a better person. I don't think, not necessarily. It has a tendency to create more empathy, more compassion. And obviously that sense of intimacy, because it's an intimacy with all life. We're going to watch an operation. Oh, great, fantastic. So,
Well, just to end it, that's happened to me. My brain freed itself from the illusion maker, which is the mind, the thinker, the experiencer, the chooser, the controller. That has all come to an end. And the children are ready at the earliest age to be also set free, so that they don't waste 1 second of their life with any fear, anxiety, sorrow, envy, greed, jealousy,
there's nothing wrong
shame,
with any of
guilt,
that.
despair. No, I didn't say there was anything wrong with it. I said it came to an end. And
Well, I'm
therefore,
confused.
that gave birth to true love, true peace, true happiness, not the happiness that the mind imagines is happiness, but true happiness.
That's not what I'm saying. It's become, it's at peace with the despair, the hopelessness, the sadness, the envy, the hate, the greed, which are all here as well as everywhere else. That doesn't come to an end. It's seen. Maybe it's more seen because there's more awareness, there's more personal awareness. It's not fought against. It's natural being a human being. It's part of what it is to be human. And for those who don't experience that, there's very often a lot of suppression of those feelings, because we tend to see them as negative. And if I don't see it here, I'm going to project those negative feelings onto everybody else. So I'm going to see that person is envious, that person is greedy, blah, blah, blah. And that's what creates a lot of conflict, part of the conflict in society anyway. So I'm not at war with any of those. And I welcome them. The more self-aware I become, the less I act out in life. And this is I don't know that non-duality has made me more growth orientated. I don't think it did. But I am growth orientated now. That's the way I move. I like becoming more self-aware, even if it's unpleasant, because I find it fascinating for one, but also, you know, it's nicer. It's much better way to, more harmonious to recognize what's in me rather than putting out there. And it's got nothing to do with non-duality, apart from the acceptance of that. Even the pushing away, there's an acceptance of pushing away of that, if that's what's happening somewhere else. And you can be suppressed and repressed after awakening, as far as I'm concerned, but you know. What do you think, Walter? What do you think?
Oh, sorry, I was sharing the Zoom link with Betty.
All right, okay.
Um,
You missed that? Oh no, you missed
well, no, there was a lot of stuff. I just I couldn't get it down to what the
okay.
question was. Betty, would you like to
Oh, yeah. Can you hear
say
me okay?
something? Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, because I wasn't sure. I'm outside and yeah, no, it was interesting what the fellow before was saying. And you know, I just recently felt like a tremendous shift in identification. Somehow something happened, and I don't want to go through the whole story about some heinous crimes. And there was whatever, like, shift for me when I saw, you know, their past, and I read it in the paper. And, you know, and I understand the concept of unconditional love, and there's nobody doing anything. There's nobody here, and there's nobody doing nothing. It's not, nothing for responsibility. It's not happening. You're not doing it. But yet at the same time, I feel this tremendous kind of his hate for the for the perp, the one that did all this. And I was kind of like even thinking, I hope he gets tortured. So there's a huge dichotomy here within this, what happened in the shift, but simultaneously there was an opening of tremendous love, but simultaneously tremendous hate. And it's just so disconcerting, to say the least. And anyway, happy birthday, Walter, on that happy note.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. I know July 4th, was it, the firecracker? Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
thank you, Betty.
Well, I just hear that you're in touch with your authentic feelings. Like, hate's a natural reaction to something heinous, and hate's a natural reaction in certain situations, such as dependency. You know, most people can't be honest enough with themselves to access that, and there's an unconditional love of that. It includes that. It includes that, and why shouldn't that be there? And everybody has those fantasies, like, you know, when your neighbors keep you up till like 5 a.m. we all have you know, a lot of us have fantasies like that. I certainly do, you know. And so yeah, so, and you name it and you say it, and yeah, and it's all included in this, and it's great, you know, because a lot of people say you can't feel hate. You can feel hate. Some people feel murderous rage or whatever. You're not acting it out. That's the difference, probably because it's not in your psychology to do so, you know, obviously, or, you know, whatever. But yeah, so, but maybe it's confusing if it's all kind of new and all very intense.
Yeah, that was confusing, because on one side there's this, I don't know, like full on something came down, you know, full on internally or something. And I was surprised to find all the hate there. And it was really, you know, like, yeah, like horrible kind of thoughts in the hate realm. It was bad.
Maybe there's a release as well. Maybe stuff is just bubbling up that's been pushed down. Who knows? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's I thought that of course it could be that too, you know, some trauma of mine from the past started this whole whatever, but it's been ongoing now for this is like the third day.
oh no,
And
okay, that's pretty intense.
yeah, I want it to like ease up, you know.
Okay.
That's very it's intense. Yeah. Yeah, like you know, you can have trouble sleeping, that kind of thing.
Oh
It's real.
no. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm running around locking doors and windows and shit. And
Okay, fair enough. All right.
I used to leave everything open. Now I'm like, oh shit, did you lock that window? You know, yeah, something, I don't know, something is still really, well, yeah. But you know, I guess time heals or something. Apparent time, the apparent time I'm home is gonna heal me. I had to come. You know, anyway.
Wait.
Yeah.
See you.
It's like the on the verge all the time between laughter and crying.
Shang down the corridor of laughter and tears, as Sylvia Plath put it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sylvia Plath. Yeah, that's exactly where it is.
Mm. Yeah, that can be uncomfortable for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Particularly after 3 days.
It's so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. Oh. But anyway, I was glad to see you guys, and thanks again for listening. You know, I dumped this whatever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Joe has her hand raised or his hand raised.
Hi, yeah, it's
Joe, yes.
hi, hello.
Oh,
I'm wondering if I can ask Dawn a question. Well, or yourself.
please do.
I'm wondering whether, I mean, I'm joining this conversation because it's about non-duality and integration. So the integration, you know, life around us as it is, work, people, socializing, families, all the rest of it, integration in those terms. So after an awakening, what I my experience of that is the heart opening. So it's a heart opening. And what I want to ask is, do you feel more of a responsibility almost with behavior in negative situations? That's the question.
Behavior in negative situations. So what you see, seeing someone doing something that's kind of hurtful to someone else, that sort of thing.
Well, hurtful for you. So we've still got in our lives, we still have the relationships around us, the
Yeah,
families, the situations,
yeah.
right? All of that still goes on. Awakening, you know, no duality, whatever. All of that is still happening. And so if something bad happens to you or somebody treats you in a bad way, have you found that your behavior is now changed
Well,
than before?
so after the sort of shift in 2012,
Yes.
I
After
would
the
say,
shift, is your behavior now different in that situation than it would have been years ago before? That's the question, yes.
I would say I was more accepting of the hurtful things because my defenses were blown through the shift, and there was still a lot of repression as I can see it. there was a lot of not really knowing what equality looked like, not knowing what fairness looked like. So I felt responsible if someone was hurtful to me, that it was my fault and somehow I had to make it right. So
Right.
I'm a really bad example. I mean, and
Okay.
I've come across that in others who, after awakening. So it was only about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, when at the Kundalini awakening, where I started to realize that I was doing that. So now I would react differently to what I did in 2012.
Okay.
You know, I might, in some cases, I might still fall into a fawn response where I'm being obsequious to make peace because it just seems like
Yeah.
easier. But
Okay.
I'm also more likely to say stop it or get out of the way of it, just leave the situation and not put up with it. I certainly wouldn't
Okay.
try to fight it, but I understand it a bit more. So
Yeah.
it
Yes.
depends who you're dealing with and what you're dealing with. And if it's something uncharacteristic, you know, if the person who's being hurtful to you, it's uncharacteristic of them, I'd react very, very different if it to someone who it's a habitual response, in which case I would know not to be authentic with them, not to be sincere with them.
Okay. Okay.
You know, but
Good.
if it's
Yes,
someone
that's what I'm. Yes, that's what I'm getting at, Dawn. Exactly what you said, because I'm finding it. Sometimes it's a bit of a struggle where the relationships have been there. They've been difficult relationships,
uh-huh,
and so now that I realize more and more. So my awakening was a few years ago, 2019.
right,
But the more I've grown into it, now the stage I'm in is, well, I don't want to keep putting myself back in the lion's den. Even though my heart is open, there is no animosity stuff. I don't want to argue anymore. That would have been my form a few years ago, upset about it. I don't have any of those feelings anymore. I'm not upset. I'm not crying. I'm not suffering. So the suffering has gone,
right.
but and I don't really feel any guilt about, okay, well, there's just no reaction. There's no reaction here. I'm not getting involved. I don't even want to say anything. Yeah, but it's kind of, well, what does the heart opening mean? I don't want to keep putting myself back in there. That's where I'm at, and I'm wondering if that's normal.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you may not be reacting and, you know, reacting whatever, but your body's still getting that. Like it's still, you know, the body can react to that. It can cause illness, as I understand
Yes,
it from what I've read about it. Like, um,
yes, yes,
and I think the more
yeah.
you
I had a
understand it,
lot.
yeah,
Yeah, I
you
had a
feel
lot of anxiety about a situation last week. I
right.
was, in fact, quite taken aback by the level of anxiety because I'm quite balanced, what I would call quite balanced and grounded normally, but this situation caused me so much anxiety. I was quite taken aback by it. In the end, I had to just not go into the lion's den. I decided not to meet this person,
Uh-huh.
and I almost felt the relief. I felt the relief, so I feel
Right.
relieved now. So where do we go with stuff like this? I mean, yeah, just
You have to,
I'm not making sense, but I don't want to keep making myself vulnerable. You know,
yeah,
there's a certain amount of naivety, and I can keep putting myself back in there and being vulnerable and thinking I can just take it because my heart is open. There is only love here. There is love for her. There is love for me. There is love here. There's no hate. But on
but
the
you're
other hand, do we have to keep putting ourselves into the vulnerable situations?
no, no. I mean, some people are stuck in those situations, right? Maybe for financial reasons, maybe
Yeah,
other
yeah.
reasons. If
No,
there's
I'm
any,
not. So yeah, I'm not.
yeah, no change. If you can, you know, educate yourself on as much as you can and get support systems outside of that, get to meet people who have normal reactions, who demonstrate empathy, who, you
Yes,
know, who
yes,
listen to you, who respect you,
yes,
who are consistent to a certain
yes,
degree, you know, reliable, et cetera, and get those
exactly.
fuckers out of your life as quick as you
Yeah, I
can.
mean and that's the dichotomy I've got, because I'm thinking, hang on, we've had this happen. We live in a state of, happiness, bliss, whatever. There is love. There is no, animosity coming out. And the old self with arguing and, suffering has gone.
Uh-huh.
And it's that kind of, well, what do I do with that?
You-
With these relationships? But yeah, we still have to walk away from it, don't we? Because there is no, yeah.
You're pouring
Mm.
your love also into, you know, a black hole. Like
Yes.
Nothing's ever going to come back. It's not going to resolve them. It's not going to heal them. It's a bottomless pit, you know. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and you owe it to yourself, and you owe it, you know, it's nice when something comes back. We're reciprocal relationships are much better.
Right. Okay. So that is still true, even though our heart is open, where the other's heart is definitely not open. There is no emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
It's,
maybe get in touch with your anger. And even if you don't feel angry, at least see that it's unfair. Get in touch with the unfairness if it doesn't, you know, if you don't, because I think it could be confusing after the awakening as well, whether you really feel a lot of anger to a situation that warrants it. Maybe you won't, but at least you know it's unfair and it's out of
Yes.
order, you
Yeah.
know.
So what you're saying is to understand that there is an injustice. I know there is an injustice. I'm fully aware of that. It's been going on for many years. I know in my mind that there is an injustice. I'm aware of it, but I'm not suffering about it like I
Yeah, I
used
get that. And it's going to hold you back. People, you know,
Right.
things like that will hold you back in life, which is important, you know, that
Yes,
be around people who are growth orientated, like I imagine you are. Like,
I am. I am indeed. Yeah, that's the journey I've
yeah,
been on. For
you're
5 years.
wasting what you have when we're,
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Sometimes it's like, okay, let the door has to close, and I understand. I do know that my growth goes on, and that is, it's limiting me. It's limiting me.
yeah.
So,
It's hard as well because you can get addicted to that. The brain gets addicted to the unpredictability of it.
yes. No,
Unfortunately.
I'm ready. I'm moving on. I'm moving
Right,
on. Thank
right.
you.
I love it. I love it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well.
Thank you.
Joe? Anybody else? Simon, did you have a question or comment?
Well, maybe I'll turn the heating on.
What is she turning on? What is she turning on?
Turn the heat down, I think.
Oh yeah, it's a bit boiling. It's being boiled to death.
So, okay, if nobody else has got a question, I'll ask another question if I may. So I have people. I'm coming across people now who are on this what you might call on the seeking path, seekers, and I'm having various conversations which are really interesting. And I'm just wondering um, how you would. I know Walter's probably already answered the question. I know he has, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How do you help others, knowing what you know, given the experience that you've had and the place that you're in? How would you help others when they say, "Okay, help me. I want to move forward. I want to find this love. I want to find this peace." How? What would you say, Dawn?
Well, I think Walter should go with your one more up his street. Go on. No.
Oh, so I think that was to you, Dawn, but help others. Well, what would I do? I just connect with them and just have a conversation and just point out some things. A lot of times I use like the Wizard of Oz analogy and just say,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
the wizard didn't give the Tin Man anything he didn't already have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just to point out that it's been there all along. This whole
Mhm.
complete, perfect mystery has always been expressing itself. And yeah, that there's nothing that needs to be added on to what the person already has in order to see this or get this.
Mm.
And
How does that help them on a practical level, though? I mean, I'm in a group. It's not really a self-realization group. It's just, a spiritual group, but surface level spiritual, I would call it. And very often the question is asked, yes, but how do I get there? And what do I do? How do I achieve that happiness that's being talked about in that, poem or that paragraph or extract from book? Yes, but what do I do? So I know it's there. I know we all have it. I know, there is nothing to do. But for me, in my experience, there were certain moments, there were pointers that other people might have given that got me thinking, got me on a different wavelength almost. That was happening before my awakening. So I guess that's what I'm asking you. Is there anything specific that you would, step them into?
I guess not. I just end up saying a lot of the same things that I said in
Yeah.
this meeting. And that,
I knew that anyway, Walter, so it's fine. I put you on the
yeah,
spot.
yeah,
It's
we'll,
fine.
we'll,
I
we'll
get it.
go to Dawn on that one.
Yeah, it's so rare I've been asked that. And if it was, I don't know, apart from a meeting situation, I don't think I've ever been asked that. And if somebody I knew asked me that, I certainly wouldn't. I don't know that I'd come out with any non-dual bullshit, basically, because I don't want to patronize anybody or tell them how it is. What the hell do I know anyway? So I think,
Yeah.
and I'm not anti-seeking, and stuff can come up in retreats, like real interesting stuff can happen anyway, and
Yeah.
retreats and meditations and stuff.
Yeah. Were
and,
you
you know,
seeking, Dawn, or did your experience just happen?
I'm really seeking. I came across non-duality a very short time before it happened anyway, and so
Right.
I had got fixated, but I wasn't, apart from attempting meditation for other reasons and not managing more than 2 minutes.
Yes.
It gives you a kind of idea of where I was at. Like,
Yeah. But when I watched that group with Tim Bliss, it was online somewhere. I think it was
Mhm.
Tim Bliss. There was a group of people in there asking questions and whatnot. They are, they're there. They're what I would term seekers.
uh-huh.
So they're the people that I'm talking about. They're, listening to this, going to groups, trying to, they want the bliss. They want the
Maybe,
peace.
I suppose in my own meetings, there seems to be quite a few people already realized or
Ah,
else had
okay.
glimpses. If you sort of
Yes.
probe a little bit, you realize like they may as well be at the front,
Yes.
There's a
I
small
see.
group, so but every so often you get a seeker, like, whoa, we're a genuine seeker. Let's like
Yes. Yes.
ask the
That's the
questions.
difference. Yeah. I'm coming across groups where people are still seeking.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, they end up, I don't know. I don't really feel responsibility for that either. Like, so I don't mind being kind of
Yeah.
casual about it. Yeah, that seems to happen spontaneously for
Yes.
most
Yes.
people. There doesn't seem to be any, actually, even in statistics, like in the studies done, it doesn't seem to be anything really that brings this about, even if you look at it just in that sense, never mind the fact that, there's no one who could bring this about, or But
Yeah.
you know, things like glimpses seem to be more that, you know, they do seem to arise in conditions of retreat kind of conditions as well. Like it seems to be, I don't know, glimpses or even bliss states or some kind of taste of some aspect of this can
Yeah.
certainly be experienced in those kind of circumstances, I think.
Yeah,
again, they can
no,
be
I agree. Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question.
right.
Yeah.
Almost.
No,
Yeah.
I just thought if you, would you have a different answer? It's fine. Yeah, I agree. It's not something that you can work towards as such, but you know, there are a lot of people trying to.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating for sure.
Mm. Okay, thank you.
That's yours.
Dawn,
Hi.
you know what I was just going to say though, after listening to her, I don't know anybody's name. The peace that passes all understanding doesn't mean it's all bliss. It's just not. You know, you can find the peace, but damn, there's a lot of sadness. Can't deny it. There's sadness too. It's just never all bliss. You know, trying to explain that earlier, you know, there's an opening, feeling of an opening, and that might be bliss, but there's also sadness that comes, and it hits so hard. It hits so hard when there's no filter left to put it someplace else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not negating any of that.
Mm.
And obviously you're experiencing that, and anything can arise. Initially,
Anything.
there's an awful lot of bliss initially, it seems. Well, it depends. That can be, you're not experiencing that right now. So
No, and I wouldn't expect to experience that 24/7. I mean, I'm in an apparent reality where shit hits the fan, you know.
yeah, life has to be dealt with, doesn't it? Life will.
Yeah. It can't be bliss. It can't be all bliss. The peace, find the peace in the tragedy. Yeah, but the tragedy still comes, you know. Tragedy still.
I think it's unpredictable as well, because sometimes something bad happens and it can be a bliss response, or sometimes it could be a sadness response or whatever. Like it's, you know, it doesn't kind of operate the same way necessarily, like, but it can do too. And more intensely, like you say. I mean, that's reported very often, isn't it? That because the filter's gone, it's much more intense.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah. And the minute you sort of feel complacent and say, well, it's like this and it's quite easy, life will just throw some real humdinger in your face, you know. That's what I seem to find anyway.
And you know, the tragedy, yeah, it can be blissful, but it may take a long time for the tragedy to become blissful. You know, I mean, I could see the bliss in the tragedy, but it doesn't mean when the tragedy is occurring or an hour later, it's bliss. It just doesn't. Not in this so-called real, unreal, whatever the hell is going on.
Yeah, sure. And some people recover quicker from things than others too, depending on the trauma, don't they? So it's complex. It's so individual what happens at that level. It really is, I think.
Yeah, and that's also confusing.
Yeah, it is in a way. It kind of throws all the kind of a lot of the spiritual
Yeah.
stuff out, you know.
No, I mean the individuality when
Right.
it expresses.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with the individuality. But
Yeah. It's always a question. It's always a question.
what is?
The individuality, you know, the sameness, yet the individuality.
Oh yeah. I know it's hard.
Yeah. Wow. that variation.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
you can't deny. Well, you can at your peril if you deny the personality, the character. I loathe saying that, but just because it's a non-duality, it's not high enough
Yeah.
in frequency. But yeah, I
w-
mean, because that's all there is. I mean, you know, you've still got this life has to be lived, doesn't it? Even if there, you know, even if it's just life, and if there is no boundary, or it's just the
Right,
same.
right. And
It's
there's still,
Mm,
yeah, there's still what went before, supposedly in the unreal before. And like I always say, you know, the conditioning. I don't think in this, you know, apparent reality, I don't think that's ever gotten rid of, is it?
what conditioning? What do you mean by that when you say conditioning?
I mean, the conditioning of the human being as however they were raised in what society, what economics, what religion, how they were trained, politeness, you know, what's appropriate. That whole thing is kind of ingrained in the individual.
I
It's
think a
never
lot.
really, it's never shaken. I don't think it's ever shaken off. You know, it's always there. It's always sitting there.
It can
Uh,
change. It can be more helpful. Like you can see more clearly. You can come to see more clearly for sure. I mean, that's what happened here. And like, you know, everything I saw was kind of distorted. Not, you know, and so I mean that's psychology. There's always stuff you can do with that for sure.
yeah. Yeah, there's stuff you can do with that in the therapist couch. Most of us aren't there, but it just you know, it's a little bit I don't know, it's just something I often think about, like, you know, despite the fact that there's nothing here and it's all whatever oneness or unmanifest, the individuality, the variations, the it's you know 8 billion, and I don't know if you'd find two the same. I don't know. You know, on varying degrees, of course there would be, but uh not really. You know, it's just like everybody's
Superficially,
fingerprint, right? We've had this discussion before.
superficially, we're different, but fundamentally, everyone is undergoing moments of fear, anxiety, sorrow, shame, guilt, despair, loneliness. So actually, the consciousness of mankind is in the same stream, in the same river. Superficially, we're different. Our fears manifest differently than other people's fears, right? But fundamentally, you're trapped and they're trapped. You're both trapped, right? Maybe to different degrees, different levels. So you're under maybe
Where
less
where
illusion
where
than
where
the
am I
next person,
trapped?
but you're
Where,
both trapped in illusion land, because you think there's a Betty, you think there's a me,
I
right?
don't think
You think
there's a
I think
me,
there's
and
the
there's
I
same.
don't think
somebody.
I'm trapped in a river of duality.
No,
I'm
you
sorry
said
to
you had.
say.
You said,
I
do
think
you
you're
have mental?
interpreting things
Excuse
differently.
me. Do you have mental disturbances? Emotional mental
Don't
disturbances?
know.
Have If you
Maybe
do, that's Betty. That means you have an I.
maybe you should
If
get
you have
your
any
non-duality.
irritation,
I don't,
that
you know, I
irritations
don't.
are proof that you have an I, a me, a self.
What proves an I? Say it again. I didn't hear it.
If you have any fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, sorrow, right? Even a particle of it, that is proof
Guilt,
positive that you
shame,
still have a sense
sorrow.
of I,
Wait,
a me, a
guilt,
self.
shame, sorrow, fear, anxiety. Oh, gee whiz, got all of them in different degrees. It doesn't mean
Well,
I'm
in
trapped.
general,
It's just,
meaning,
it's the conditioning. It's conditioning. It's if you know what, if I believed that to cut somebody's throat is a sin, you know what? Even if I'm not here, I'm still not going to cut somebody's throat. It's not going to happen. Not gonna
you can
happen. The
say-
conditioning is too strong. That would never come through.
Glad to
Ever.
hear it, Betty.
Oh,
Anybody else got any questions?
Dawn, well, what do you use like when you're doing some therapy and you're working with somebody who's had this shift and you're talking about integration into society, like say somebody who has a, has an important job, or they're dealing with a, family, what do you say about integration?
Well, I don't speak about integrate. I mean, it's a process that, nobody would be in therapy after awakening if there wasn't something to work on. So, but the difference seems to be, from what I've seen, from the limited experience I have of it, that they seem to work through stuff very, very quickly, and things are seen very, very quickly. And yeah, so there can be a lot of movement, a lot of change.
Yeah.
So there's definitely stuff like afterwards. I'd say that definitely. It's not like I've had so many awake clients, but I've had a few, and I have noticed that. And
Yeah.
but yeah, so there's the undealt stuff. If it wasn't worked with, my sense is that in some cases where people have had more sort of like psychology like me, maybe they would remain just stuck, remain very small, not realize their potential, not achieve their goals, maybe be stuck in unhealthy relationships, all of the above, all that stuff. Because it doesn't fix everything, and some things just need to be seen and kind of got. Like sometimes we just don't know what we're doing because we've never had that, demonstrated to us. Our parents have given us, or caregivers have given us, this kind of fucked up idea of what love looks like, what relationship looks like, what, all those ideas look like, and we've followed that pattern. So we've never had anything to challenge it, like, because you do need to internalize. Well, it's a good idea to internalize something that's a healthy relationship, at least know what that looks like, and then you know how to find it, and you know how to, what's wrong here, or what needs, or what way to move, maybe is another way of putting it as well. Like, but some stuff just, I don't think does drop away. Like, some of the early trauma may be harder to shift and stuff like that. But then it's less likely that people come into therapy if it's something really deep and, like, say, narcissistic, somebody on that scale, or even NPD or something. They're unlikely to come in unless they've experienced a collapse of some kind, or they might do a few sessions or something, but they're not going to do real work, I suppose. I'll call it work. It's a conversation, kind of one way. Like, but
I don't want to.
I don't know. Like integration, it's just a way of putting it, isn't it? There's
It's kind of, yeah.
Who doesn't want the kind
Right.
of
Right. Who doesn't want to sort it out, sort
Well,
through? Yeah. Who
if
doesn't
it
want that?
changes things, he wants
Yeah.
to be in a more loving relationship, to I don't know, manifest the goals that you had maybe as a kid or teenager, something that got stuck, maybe got frozen, maybe you suppressed all that. Maybe you sort of think, well, why not? But you might need a little bit of push. Some people just need the slightest encouragement. They've never had encouragement, because that can be completely lacking. And you might be in relationships with people who just, they don't have that. They don't give you that. They don't give you the empathy. So, you know, that we can go backwards as well as forwards without, you know, healthy people around us. And some people just want you to suffer as well. Like, there is that too, you know. So
The masochists among us.
exactly, yeah. But if you
Yeah.
don't know you are that, like, you know, you're unlikely to change. Like Joe was saying earlier, you'll just take the blows and think, oh, I'm not, you know, I'm not suffering, therefore, which I did, you know, like, so what does it matter? But really it does. And when the more clearly you see it, the more it matters. It's like, no, I'm not doing this. You know, but
You know, I hear some people saying, like at meetings and things like, uh, you know, after the shift, what I just don't feel like moving anymore. I just, you know what? There's no meaning. There's no purpose. Just, you know, sit on the sofa and, you know, eat chips or something. You know, I've heard that quite often. That, you know, people say, you know, it's just happening. It's not me, and, you know, there's no purpose. So let me just, you know, hang up my work clothes and lay down for a while. You must have heard that, I'm sure.
well, it can be good to do that for a while. I did that for a few years myself and enjoyed it.
A few
But-
years.
well, I mean, there was
Uh-huh.
a lot of bliss here, and there was a lot of sitting on benches, and it's a lot of empty mind stuff. So I was kind of blown apart, and then it was the Kundalini that brought back a desire to, well, you know, it brought a psychological revelation and changed my life, I suppose. But otherwise I might have continued
To
sitting.
sit on the park bench.
No, I don't want to be sitting on
Is that what you're saying?
maybe not. But for a lot of people, like, it's a period of time, right? And then of course, like, I mean, you get Eckhart Tolle, it was quite profound, wasn't it? But he didn't sit around forever, did he? He started giving talks, and they were very successful. And, you know, it takes a certain amount of motivation to do that, doesn't it? And so I think it comes back online for people, but they maybe want to do something that sort of goes with that difference of energy, of how they're operating now rather than before. So, but yeah, there can be a period of time, not necessarily. It may be just from the get-go, you just like get busy.
Shut down.
Well,
Shut off or something. You turn off right away.
well, you might actually just become really motivated straight away and just move towards a goal, like without any inhibition. I've seen that. It's pretty impressive. I wish I was like that. I'd probably never be like that. I would.
So the Kundalini was after your whatever you want to call it, you know, liberation or whatever. The Kundalini came later. Is that what you're saying? And that sparked this movement?
Well,
Is that how it goes?
I also had a Kundalini awakening before the shift, and then a few years after there was a second one, which was quite powerful, psychologically quite powerful. So yeah, and that hasn't stopped. It's good because it's quite entertaining. It seems a little bit contagious as well.
Yeah, I saw your friend, Hamish. Oh man, he scared the hell out of me. I was like, ooh, that was rough.
Oh, I
That
hate
was
you. His craze.
Yeah, that was rough watching that. Oh man.
Well, the biggest craze I've ever seen, like.
Oh, never. Well, I've never seen Korea's, you know, and maybe a few things, you know, at a meeting and whatever, but nothing like that. That was like, holy moly. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's just interesting, the whole spectrum when you look there too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Quite funny. Find it quite
Yeah.
funny.
Well, as long as it's not happening to me, it's quite funny. Ooh. Yeah. Looks can be deceiving. That's what I want to say. That's all I can say. I didn't see the one where I started watching it, but I don't know what happened. I'll have to tune in again. Where you know he was having a discussion with a group of people. You were there, yeah. I didn't finish that one to hear the questions that were asked.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you do those, are they open to Zoom too, like this, or no?
No, yeah, I haven't
Oh.
done that. It's just put it up on YouTube. Yeah,
Okay.
there'll be another one, but yeah, I suppose London's a long way to go. Like, but
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you.
it's
Anybody else? Don't be shy. You can put your questions in the chat or just jump right in.
So, so for everyone here, you still have fear. You still have
Excuse-
moments of fear.
Excuse me? Do I
The
have
question
moments
is-
of fear?
The group, the whole group. Does anyone here have moments of anxiety and moments of
No, how
sorrow?
about you? What about you? Why don't we talk about
No.
you, Jacob?
No, I've already told you that all of that has come to a complete and utter end.
Congratulations.
It's not temporary. It's 24/7. When I go to work, when I go to school, wherever I go, when I'm raising my children, it's happening. Love is happening, peace is happening, oneness is happening, communion is happening. It's not an intellectual idea. It's not a concept. It's not a belief.
If your
I
kid
feel
runs
it in my
into the
bones. I
street,
feel it in my
if your
blood.
kid runs into the street and a car is zooming down the block, you don't get a moment of fear? Come on,
No,
please, please.
what
She's
happens
ready to,
is,
she's instantaneously going to be killed by a car and there's no fear there? I find that hard to believe. There's
Okay.
got to be, and maybe you don't live in fear, but there's instantaneous moments of fear.
Listen,
You
lady,
know,
if you want to
there
live
is.
in fear, be my guest. If you want to continue with it, if you have a belief that it's impossible to end, for fear to come to an end, then carry on. Live the remainder of your life with fear. Betty is fear. Fear is talking to me now. Fear is saying it's impossible. Fear, there's always going to be fear. Fear said that.
You can have it, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, I continue. Hmm. I can't get rid of the belief that there is someone. um,
with this.
whenever it's getting a bit harder, let's say, I have to take care of my mom. And it's hard, and I think there's a Petra and there's a mom, and this seems to be very solid. Yeah.
Well, that's true too, and that's tough.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't it be
Yeah.
tough?
That's what's happening. Yeah.
That's not going to change. I mean, why would
No. I just wanted to say something.
that? All right, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not really the end of, your personality is the same, and the same feelings will arise, and same desires, hopes, fears, all of that. So yeah, struggle with stuff like that. That can be big stuff. So
Yeah.
this means you care as well. So it's nice, on that level. Maybe not nice for you, but
Mm.
Mm.
If you were closer somehow, Dawn, I would definitely try to get some sessions in therapy with you. I really adore you.
There's always Zoom. You can have Zoom sessions if you want.
You do sessions on Zoom?
Yeah, if you get in touch with my website, if you want some Zoom. If it's not, I know it's not the same. Well, it's not bad. I don't know. Depends.
I mean, I spent already 100 hours on the couch, I have to admit, like in my 30s and 40s. So
Oh, you're done with it? Okay, so right, okay.
I'm sure it will be different with you.
I hope it depends what well, depends what you did really. Because I guess it was different people and stuff as well. So some of it's a waste of time, isn't it? I can kind of see why, like some of it, but
Yeah.
maybe,
Mm.
well, maybe not a waste of time, but
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
What you're saying. I mean,
It-
yeah.
the
Oh, while it was just good to go there. I mean, I didn't commit suicide, so, but on the other hand, it wasn't worth much. Yeah, somehow.
what you didn't commit suicide, but what?
At least.
Oh right, yeah. You have the thoughts that, presumably. I mean,
It's a old story.
all right, don't worry, you don't have to go there and tell. Yeah, but that's everybody gets this. I think pretty much everyone gets the thoughts, don't they? From time to time.
Yeah.
Nietzsche said, gets you through as a philosopher through a night, thoughts of suicide. Maybe through a long night, like I don't know, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, at least it's not that. I mean, no, I'm in the 50s. It's not that sticky anymore. I would say I have the thoughts, but it changes faster than it was. Yeah, not that sticky anymore. And yeah.
The thoughts change quicker, like
No, the thoughts and the moods, I would say, of if I think, wow, it's oh yeah.
okay, so you kind of
The bad moods and the depressions don't stick that long. And
all right, so they did, and you're coming through emotion quicker. Are you just kind of recognizing it quicker then? And
yeah, maybe I don't know. So maybe there's not that much resistance against it. Like it was maybe before I thought, oh, I have to get out of it. There must be something better. And now I mean, it's just like it is, and it's somehow it's if I don't, I mean, there's no one putting energy in it, but yeah, blah blah blah.
Something's changing then, maybe there's a kind of more acceptance and a
Yeah, maybe kind of more acceptance.
defenses maybe breaking down a wee bit, maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe I'm just in a better place right now, or in an easier situation. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it could be that, but it sounds
Yeah.
healthy anyway, like moving that direction.
I mean, most of my sorrow was about relationships, and now I'm 50 plus, so it's it's getting easier. Even
Getting
and
what?
I enjoy. I'm enjoying now having no relationship. So
Oh, really? All right, okay. But right. Oh, they were bad and now just
yeah,
taking it.
many
taking
very
time.
sad love stories. Blah. Heartbroken most of the time, so that's getting easier.
Oh, see, there's a pattern. Oh, right, okay. It's a pattern of heartbreak then. Right, okay.
Drama when it comes to relationship. Yeah.
Oh, really? But from them, not from you? Or from, well, you don't have to get into it here. Let's just be whatever on live, like, but
Yeah, it's often not with you, not without you. So going in and out, and
okay, that
fear of intimacy, and I don't. Yeah.
oh, did you have the fear of intimacy, do you? Or
I think I don't have it anymore, but it wasn't that time. I was at that time.
I had that one, yes. Mine went as well, but yes, annoying that one. Other-
Yeah. Hmm.
So no trouble then, you're taking it easy. You don't get lonely, do you? Or
Yeah, always looking for the perfect guy. Most of the time I had two, and then I had no one, and it was always complicated and extreme.
all right, okay.
Oh. Oh, please don't put it on YouTube, Walter.
Sorry, it's already live on YouTube.
Oh, it is already right. Okay.
Oh,
I know, but it's not.
apologize for that. This is, yeah.
You're right. Yeah, we are live on YouTube now. No problem. Just a story. Mhm. You now do it once a month, you too, or for a while it was every Monday. It's because I'm a bit confused. I don't.
Oh, yeah, just, well, for the summer, we figured we'd do once a month, so we
So
slowed it
next time
down.
will be when?
Yeah, a month from today. I know exactly, we'll confirm the date after the meeting, and then we'll, it'll be up on Dawn's meetup page.
I see. Okay.
And I know you asked me about a mailing list, so if anybody wants to get on my mailing list, I'll do my best to, I'm not great with the technology,
Okay.
but it's Walter Driscoll, non-duality @gmail.com. And
Okay.
I will try to send out an email letting people know about this and
Mhm.
everything else that's happening.
Okay, but otherwise it's on Dawn's page. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
Dawn has a meetup with all her London appearances plus the Zoom.
thank you.
Any final questions? Got about 5 minutes left. Or we can just wrap it up. Yeah, I've got nothing next week. So I'm going away, but then the week after that,
Oh, I'm
I'll have.
And you weren't even listening because I had the mute button on. Did
Oh.
you ever have Howard on yet?
Yeah, Howard's, I was just gonna say, not next week, but the week after.
Not this Sunday, not tomorrow. I mean, not whatever's today is Monday. All right, not this coming Sunday, the following. Okay.
Monday.
In 2 weeks.
Oh. Okay. The following Monday, not to, next Monday or the Monday after?
Monday after.
Okay. What month is that then? Are we in August by then?
31st.
I don't
No, no, no.
know. I'll try to, I'll try to keep up with this
31st.
mailing list.
I can't. All right, because I did want to see that meeting and I thought looked on Sunday, but I couldn't find anything. Okay, thank you.
I pretty much only
Okay.
do them on Mondays.
Okay.
So anyway, how about you, Don? Any plugs?
None. Yeah, I'm dying at the minute. Yeah, but I haven't decided what I'm doing my next meeting yet. But there's stuff coming out. Doing one with Richard Sylvester soon. And I'll be doing my own meeting soon. But yeah, check the meetup because
Mhm.
I don't know.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it. Thanks for everybody watching on YouTube. Thanks for all the questions, comments. Jacob, you want to give your plugs? Just kidding. All right. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.